In a forgotten village nestled between thick forests and endless valleys, a house stood alone. It was the kind of house that children dared each other to enter, the kind of house that whispered inside when no one was around. Every year, as the leaves turned golden and the nights grew colder, a legend resurfaced, the legend of the Hollow Woman. Curious about the tales he'd heard in the tavern, a skeptical historian named Edward decided to uncover the truth. Armed with his notebook and camera, he ventured into the village one late autumn day. The villagers refused to speak with him, their eyes wide with fear at the mere mention of the Hollow Woman. But terror only fueled Edward's curiosity. He found himself standing before the decrepit gate of the ancient house as twilight painted the sky in hues of crimson and violet. The air was icy, and a sense of foreboding wrapped around him like a shroud. Edward pushed open the gate, its rusted hinges squealing like lost souls. Inside, the house was a maze of shadows and decaying furniture. His footsteps echoed in the silence, unsettling the dust that had lain undisturbed for decades. With his flashlight in one hand and camera in the other, Edward documented everything: the eerie portraits lining the walls, the cobwebs that seemed to pulse with an unnatural life. He reached the attic, a place rumored to be the Hollow Woman's domain. As he climbed the creaking stairs, his breath became visible, the temperature dropping with each step. At the top, he found a room cluttered with broken dolls, their glassy eyes reflecting the beam of his flashlight. In the center of the room stood an old mirror, its surface clouded and cracked. Drawn to it, Edward wiped away the grime and stared at his reflection. Suddenly, the temperature plummeted further, and a female figure materialized in the mirror. Her hollow eyes bore into his, and her mouth opened in a silent scream. Edward stumbled back, tripping over the debris. The woman stepped out from the mirror, her form flickering like a candle in the wind. Her voice, when it finally came, was a guttural whisper, "Leave." Panicked, Edward scrambled down the stairs, the house seeming to shift and close in around him. The portraits watched with judgmental eyes, and the very walls seemed to breathe. He reached the front door, throwing it open and sprinting into the night. The air outside was fresh but carried an unsettling silence. As Edward caught his breath, he turned to look back at the house. The figure of the Hollow Woman stood in the doorway, her form dissolving into the night like mist. Edward fled the village, vowing never to return. But the legend of the Hollow Woman endured, whispered around fires and told to children who dared each other to enter the house that still stood alone in the valley, echoing with the past.